You're live.
We're live. Hello, world. We have some guests in the studio today. We have the Conrad Homestead kids. To my lower left here is Caspian. This is David, the elder. And this is Victoria, the middle one.
Hello.
Which leaves this guy as the youngest one and the hairiest one.
She's the hairiest one. No, she is.
Come in a little bit, little darling. Hello, hello. Welcome to the live stream. We see numbers moving. Hello, Jenna.
Oh, yeah.
Jenna, thanks for joining us.
There we go.
Oh, that does look better.
We look more white though.
Oh, it's Jenna. It says, hello, happy birthday, Caspian, love you. Hello, Jenna.
Hello, Jenna. Hi, is it Jenna?
Mm-hmm, Auntie Jenna.
Oh,
Everett
sweet.
and Elliot are there too.
Hello.
So, for all of you who don't know, January 7th was Caspian's birthday.
Yeah, we went to the Abraham Lincoln's birthplace because it's an hour away from here. Where's that? Pete's Little Homestead.
Yeah, Pete.
Pete's Little Homestead. Welcome, Pete's
Hello.
Little Homestead.
Is that
Pete?
Is that Pete?
No, that's not Peter Anderson. That's Pete's Little Homestead. One of my old pals, fellow YouTubers. Thanks for stopping by, Pete. I have a brother named Pete, Peter Conrad, and I also have a friend that we just made friends with about 3 weeks ago. We've actually gone and visited their homestead, and they've come to our homestead. So 2 days before Christmas, hopefully they'll join us. If you see them in the chat, they are the Anderson Homestead. So hopefully they'll join us in the live stream. We sent them a message saying that we'd be on. Thanks for the happy birthday wishes. We are doing well. To answer your question, Pete's Homestead, we're doing well. How are you guys doing out there? That's good to hear. Assuming you said something good. The chat is a little delayed. I think it's probably 30 seconds delayed. So I've been on live streams as a viewer, and I can tell that they're waiting for me to reply. They'll ask me a question, and I'll type it in, and still waiting, still waiting, still waiting. It usually takes about 20 to 30 seconds. So just so you know that delay.
If we pause.
If we pause.
That's crazy. I think you can't pause. I think you can only exit it.
Yeah, so we wanted to have the kids over on the live stream because a couple of our family members have asked, where are the kids? And so today we gave them the option if they wanted to come on and say hello to everybody with us.
They could either come on and live or not come on. So as you can see, they're still alive.
Yep, that's how the story goes.
I don't think it was that drastic.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, so we actually did have a really cool time at the Abraham Lincoln birthplace. Caspian, like you mentioned, wanted to go. So when we asked him, like, what do you want to do for your birthday? That's what he wanted to do. And so it was really neat because the cabin's inside of a building. And so it was really neat to go check it out. We did some research before. We even went, we were watching documentaries on Abraham Lincoln, and then we were watching some of the making of the building. And so it was definitely like a school project, which was really neat because we were about to go. They were more interested in Abraham Lincoln and some of the things he did. So that was really neat.
Yeah, not a lot of people know that Abraham Lincoln was born in Kentucky. He lived his first 8 years in Kentucky. Illinois is known as the land of Lincoln, but He wasn't born in Illinois. He spent the majority of his early life, in Illinois, but he was born in Kentucky. Hodgenville, Kentucky. You can check it out if you want to look at it. Google it. It's called the Abraham Lincoln Birthplace
Mama, don't you think the
Memorial.
Anderson homestead lived next to it?
No.
They live closer than we do, probably.
They probably live like 40 minutes.
I have to Google it.
The Anderson homestead is located near
I don't know if they want to say.
some undisclosed location in Kentucky.
You said Kentucky.
Yeah, I think they've told everyone they're in Kentucky, but
Didn't say where. What did you get there, Caspian? So Caspian is a collector of coins. And so when we were there, that was one of the treats that we got him, was a coin from the Abraham Lincoln birthplace. I don't know, what else? Did we get you anything else there?
No, we got the badge.
they got
Yeah,
cool
that's
little badges.
Really cool. They're
Yeah,
little.
at the every historical site, they have little badges. For Mammoth Cave, it was kind of disappointing. They only have plastics. That's where I thought all of them would be. But then when we went to the Abraham Lincoln's birthplace, they were metal.
Yeah.
They
So
gave us
if you're
metal badges.
if you're in the junior ranger dealie, I guess you have to be what, under 12?
Yeah, but they were saying that adults could do it too.
Yeah. They're getting a little more lenient, which is nice. Hey, Boone Child, thanks for stopping in.
Hello.
Pete said, "Me too, somewhere in Kentucky." I like it because it's so like broad.
Stacey?
Yes, hello, Boom.
Boone. Boon.
Hey.
Welcome, guys. So, so we're gonna chit chat. Is there anything else that we want the kids to talk about while they're still here?
Is there anything you guys want to talk about in particular?
No.
No?
No.
So we'll ask the kids, and we'll use this as our segue. Who is your favorite homestead YouTubers to watch? Who's some of the homesteaders you guys like to watch?
I like Doug.
And then why? Go ahead, Victoria.
I like Doug and Stacy because they're like off grid and they're kind of like Amish and they're super friendly.
Yeah. How do you know they're super friendly?
Because I met them.
You met Doug and
And
Stacy?
Stacy. I don't think we met Stacy, did we?
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah, we met him.
It's actually kind of funny because we met them at the Homesteaders of America, and Doug and Stacey gave them stickers, and Doug is like, "Put this somewhere." It's like very visible. It doesn't matter where. And
Even if your parents don't, like wherever you want, even though your parents don't tell you not to put it there, just stick it on there.
and when we came home and on a wall, there it was, stuck to a wall. We're like, "Oh my gosh, he took it too literal." Thankfully, it came off and it didn't take any of the paint. So now it's on their water bottles.
It wasn't me. It was you.
Thanks a lot, Doug.
Right. So what are some other homesteaders?
Probably Justin Rhodes.
You like
When we first met him in that what is it? Homesteaders of America. I'm like, we watch you a lot. You should know me.
And then David?
Nothing.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
We're still there.
David?
Me, probably Greg Judy. Greg Judy.
Did we disappear for a second?
I hope not.
Somebody? Anybody? I tried to jump over and put Justin Rhodes' link on the screen. I'm sure all of you, well, some of you may have never heard of Justin Rhodes, but if you can see me. Thank you, Allison.
Hello, Alice.
Somebody's love.
So they said they
We've
could
been
still
to the
see us.
Heartland Homestead, right? The Heartland.
Yeah, we did. We were able.
Picnic,
We
yeah.
went to the Heartland Homestead this year.
You guys see Heartland Homestead up there?
Yeah.
Little Homestead said, "Well,
Oh.
you should come to the Heartland Homesteaders
Yeah.
picnic in Kentucky this year."
We actually saw you, Pete, at the Heartland Homesteaders picnic. And we were like, I think that's Pete. And then it started raining. And then we're like, hey, there goes Wet Pete. And we went one way and you went another way.
Little Homestead, Wet Pete.
So, yeah, we saw you there actually. And we wanted to talk to you, but it started raining really hard and everybody scattered.
Like little ants.
You know?
So, David, who was it you mentioned?
Greg Judy, because he helps Papa with the sheep, or he gives a lot of good advice.
Greg Judy's my old pal. Sometimes I pick up the phone and say, hey, Greg, how's it going? And Greg says, how are those 11 sheep doing? No, but yeah, Greg Judy is very influential. We get a lot of information from Greg Judy. I'll put up a link here in a second when I can figure out how to transition without freaking out, because you all disappeared the last time I did that. So.
Oh, Voon says she was there too.
Really?
Oh no, I said I can see you.
Oh, I can see you.
Sorry, I misread that.
Yeah.
Where does Boone live?
I don't know. Ask her.
Boone, I believe, lives. I think she lives on the East Coast. I want to say she's like in New Hampshire or Connecticut,
We watched her live stream.
maybe farther south. Boone, where are you located? North Carolina.
Oh.
We actually, when we were looking for properties, North Carolina was a possibility. We were looking around the Greensboro, Winston-Salem area, an area they call the Tri-Cities, and we didn't really find something in our price range. A lot of the properties there were very high, but we're happy where we are. We prayed hard and we feel like this is where God wants us to be. But yeah, do we want to keep the kids around?
No, you guys can go if you guys want.
Okay.
So let the kid exodus begin. The children are gonna leave.
Say bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank
This
you.
house is bye. Boone, bye, and Susanna, and bye, Pete. See ya. Bye. Bye. Let's stay for a little bit.
That's fine. Hey, come closer. I got space. We got space. People left. Come over a little bit more. There you go. Off they go. So let me ask the question again. I asked it at the very beginning, but who are some of your influential homestead channels? So we mentioned, hey, my dad's here, William Conrad. Thanks for joining us, Dad. Good to see you on.
Hi, Grandpa.
And thank you, Allison.
So one of our very influential channels, as we mentioned before, is Justin Rhodes, and I put his link up in the thingy ding. I'll actually put it on here again, just because I can. So Justin Rhodes is very influential to us at the beginning. We currently don't get a lot of information from his channel, but at the beginning, when we first caught on with them about 3 years ago, they were running a tour called the Homesteaders of America Tour. And the Homesteaders of America Tour, Justin and his family, they actually purchased a bus, big old bus, school bus, renovated it, and decided that they were going to tour the entire country, go to every single state. And they didn't mention this at first, but underlying was the idea of leaving North Carolina, where they live and they have property, and seeing if there was somewhere else they thought they might want to move to. He didn't mention that till the very end, but then after he went state by state, homestead to homestead, he decided that North Carolina was their home and that they were going to stay there. They put down roots and continued to go for it, continued homesteading. So it was really neat because they would go to different homesteads in different states, and you got to see people that were doing it. You know, the people that were really into the homesteading life in different parts of the country. We lived in Arizona at that point in time, and he visited Homestead in Arizona. And it was just really neat to see. So that's when we kind of jumped on the Justin Rhodes bandwagon. Of course, his channel is just a little bigger than ours, probably by about 758,362 subscribers. But it's relatively close. It's a drop in the ocean. But anyways, ever checked out Justin Rhodes, feel free to do that. Haven, welcome to the live stream.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate any time you spend with us. How's it going, Haven? Let us know how you're doing there in Michigan. Yeah, so another one of my current very influential. I agree with that, Pete. I just read your comment. Pete said, I really like it watching the smaller channels. At least you can communicate with some of them. Yeah, even if you leave a comment on a lot of these bigger channels, videos, it's very likely that you'll get even like a thumbs up or a little heart or something like that. But we agree with that very strongly. And that's one of the reasons we like doing the live stream, is to communicate and interact with you guys and share information and encourage each other, see what we're doing. Boone is in North Carolina. Put that in your memory bank. So another one that I want to mention is Greg Judy. Greg Judy is a regenerative farmer, and he's located in Missouri. So one thing that I try to do when I'm looking for people that I get information from is I try and find people that are in my same geographical area. You know, I mentioned last week that I really like Pete Canaris that's down in Florida. The only problem with Pete Canaris is he's in a totally different USDA hardiness zone or a grow zone. And I can't grow the same things that Pete can. You know, he's not dealing with frost, or he's not dealing with the cold very much at all. Hey, Everett on his own user channel. Hello. Good to see you. So one thing that I really like about Greg Judy's channel is Greg's in Missouri. And if you know, geographically, Kentucky and Missouri are right next to each other. So a lot of the information that I get from Greg Judy, I can directly relate. And Greg Judy raises Dexter cows. He's got a herd of roughly 350. And he also raises sheep. I believe he's got somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 sheep. So if you know anything about our setup, as young as it may be, we have 11 sheep. We have 10 ewes or females, And we have one ram. I was thinking, is that the right word? Yeah, one ram. The goats are called bucks when they're males, but the the male sheep are called rams. We have one ram, and we're actually right in the middle of breeding season right now. So it's I'll actually kind of aim this toward my dad. Dad, you had mentioned that you said that you were concerned that one or two of the females would go into heat and the ram would kind of key in on them. And hey, out of Goshen, welcome to the channel. But what we found is that there's really like a 2-day really intense heat cycle. So the ram, he kind of links up with one and focuses right on them for about 2 days, and he kind of keys in on that one, and then they kind of go out of cycle, and then another one will go into heat. So that's what I've observed. So we haven't had any issues with him like just focusing on one particular.
They're not like roosters, because I know like roosters have their favorites and they kind of pick on that one. And although they'll breed with the other ones, like roosters tend to like, I like this one. And he's not like that. He's not so particular.
He's not so picky.
Yeah, so it seems like we're having pretty good success with that. There's probably about 6 out of the 10 ewes that are showing that. It's kind of interesting because the middle part of their body is pretty round. And then if you go back to their hindquarters, now you're starting to get a little sag right before their hind legs. Like before, if you were looking at it from the side, like if this is their back leg, it just looked real round because their bellies are usually full. But now it's starting to kind of square off at the bottom and it's starting to fill in. I know that wasn't a very good illustration, but so we're having some luck, I believe, and the sheep are maintaining weight. That's one thing that we're keeping an eye on in the winter. We are stockpiling. We're feeding them stockpiled grass, or grass that we have saved in the field. There's a book that I've been reading as a reference to anybody that's interested. Let me aim this a little farther this way. There's a book that I've been reading called Kick the Hay Habit. So that book is written by Jim Garish, if you're interested, and it talks all about stockpiling. If you're familiar with farming, you've probably heard that farmers make a lot of hay. They have to make hay for their animals when the hay grows, and they save it up for the winter. Well, one of the issues with that is that there's a lot of machinery required for that. Costs a lot of money. You have to be able to store it. There's a lot of infrastructure required for hay. But it wasn't always that way. It wasn't always necessary. People have been raising sheep and cattle for thousands of years, and the tractor hasn't been around to make hay for them. And those animals have made it. So we're trying to learn that method, how to raise them through the winter without feeding them hay. Yeah. Anything you two want to add? Don't let me be a live stream hog. Yeah, so we're learning as we go. This is our first year. We got the sheep in probably, what was that? May or June of last year. The sheep that we have, the first set of 4 females that we got, they were born in January of last year, so they're a year old now. You can breed sheep at about 7 to 9 months. So they're definitely in that range. Another thing that book, Kicking the Hay Habits, mentions is, we'll be here when you get back, Voon. So we'll probably run this to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, or for about another 36 minutes.
Air fryer. So she mentioned the air fryer, and I've actually I've been interested if you guys cook with the air fryer, if any of you guys do, in like larger quantities. The reason why I'm asking is because I've done research, and they say like for larger families, air fryers aren't that great. Convection ovens do the same thing, but I don't really know anyone personally that's kind of had that experience. So if that's something that you guys have noticed, or your thoughts on that, because we actually purchased one and then we ended up returning it. What did you guys?
So my dad, William Conrad, asked, if you got up in the hundreds of sheep and had to lease land, wouldn't you need to use hay? So there is, there is a certain point, and there may be conditions where you may need hay. You know, sometimes you're going to get into where weather conditions are very inclement, very rough, icy. You may have frozen fields for a certain period of time, and you may need to use some hay. If you watch Greg Judy, his channel, the last video that he put out, he's actually showing putting out hay. They do very little hay, but hay to us, according to our plan, would be as a backup. So 98%, maybe 95% of the forage that they would get would be straight from the ground, and then you can make up that difference with the hay.
Out of Goshen, thanks for letting me know that that's correct. That they're not used so much. That they're not good for like mean meals. Like I said, we purchased one, and then when I did the research, I'm like, I think I can just do the convection oven, so I returned that. So yeah, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, and then I started a thought, and by the way, I'll just throw this in here. You guys are free to go in any direction you want. We just kind of have a general topic, so that we're not just sitting here looking at each other, or you're looking at us and we're looking at your comments. And but if you have something of interest, feel free to bring that up. We have no issue with that whatsoever. We live in an area that is about 30 minutes east of Glasgow, Kentucky. So we're basically south central Kentucky, about 30 minutes from the Tennessee-Kentucky border. That's where we're located. We're in growing zone 6B. So another thing that is mentioned in the Kick the Hay Habit by Jim Garish is following nature's timeline for breeding. So that is one of the reasons we bred our sheep. Let me come more up and here, come a little closer. Now we got more room, we can come closer. So that's another reason that we bred our sheep in December, because that is when the animals breed that are similar to sheep, which are deer. So the deer breed in December, late November through December. And then they have their fawns, they have their offspring in the spring. And that's what we're trying to follow.
And we're so excited for the little sheep. Our neighbor has little sheep, and they're so itty bitty. They're, oh my goodness, they're so adorable. So every once in a while, we'll walk down to their farm just to look at them. They must think we're so weird. They look out their window, they're like, there are the neighbors looking at the sheep again. Yeah. We'll even take people over. I know that when Paul's father came to visit us, we're like, let's go see the sheep. And we went over there, and little sheep are so cute. So we're excited and looking forward to our harvests of sheep, or I don't know if harvest is the right word.
Yeah, we're not going to harvest them just yet. So one thing that, she mentioned our neighbors, they actually have lambs now. And I think it was just 2 or 3 weeks ago, they started having lambs. So they're on a different schedule than us. So they bred kind of when we're expecting our sheep. They bred in June and July so that they could have their sheep at this time. That's what they prefer to do. I don't think it's a good idea to breed and have sheep dropping, newborn lambs in the middle of the winter, but a lot of people do it. I still don't understand it. That's not what nature does. So we're trying to follow nature. Simply
Hello.
Jan.
Yep. Hello.
So you do plan to get sheep. I didn't know that, Jan. Welcome to the live show, by the way. And if you'll see on there, Jan, I made you a moderator. If I had known Boone was coming by, I would have also made her a moderator. I will do that so that you will be a moderator next time, Boone. Boone, she's like the community moderator.
I know Simply Jen, I think you were the one that mentioned, I don't remember if it was the last live stream or the one before that, about your pigs and about how you have a hybrid that was mixed on the one that you were looking at. And after we got off the live stream, I'm like, oh, I never commented on that. So Simply Jen, I think that was you, if I remember right. Thank you for the suggestion on the pig. I know that's something that he has been looking at, is the pigs. So yeah, just wanted to say that really quick before I forget.
That was the last live stream?
I don't remember if it was last live stream or the one before.
Okay.
My brain's kind of like a fog.
I do know that Jan recently had some of her neighbor's cows brought onto her property, but I don't remember the pigs. Idaho pasture pigs. So I've done some research on the Idaho pasture pigs, and I think it's really neat that they can live on pasture and eat a lot of grass. So that is really cool. Jan, what percentage of their diet can be grass? Because I don't believe it's 100%, but I could be wrong. I'd be curious to know that, because if they're on grass, that would be amazing. One of the neat things about sheep, and one of the reasons that sheep are so sustainable and what makes them so appealing to us is their sustainability, is the fact that they can live off of grass. Now, I've been doing a lot of reading. It's not 100% grass. You want about 50 to 70% of their diet in grass, about 10 to 15% in forage, as far as like bushes and shrubs, trees, stuff like that. And then the other 20 to 30% would be in broadleafs, stuff like clover, dandelion, all those broadleafs, vetch, hairy vetch. No, I'm not cussing. Lespedeza is another broadleaf. So all those little broadleafs that grow in the pasture. There's also stuff like goldenrod and all those other plants that they call weeds that are actually very beneficial. And sheep are very in tune with the plants. They know what they need. It's very interesting because they're able to self-medicate. They're able to know what their body needs and find those plants and eat them. One thing that we've been doing lately, especially now that the forage has gone kind of down for the sheep, is hey, micro farmer, I see that you stopped in. Just want to acknowledge you coming in. Thanks for stopping by. One thing that we've been doing with the sheep lately is kind of using them to clean up a fence row. We have some permanent fencing. It's a field fence. It's got it's probably 6-inch by 6-inch squares on it. And there's a lot of overgrowth on it. It's got wild blackberries and a lot of honeysuckle. And one of the neat things that I recently learned about honeysuckle is that it has a lot of anti-parasite properties to it. So these are some things that we're learning. If we see the sheep are starting to look a little anemic, where the parasites are kind of getting the better of them, then we'll put them in areas where they'll have more forage from these bushes. In fact, we have one row. It's probably about 120 feet long. It runs parallel with the garden, and the sheep like honeysuckle too. It smells great when it's in bloom. There's actually a lot of different kinds of honeysuckle, and I've been learning that lately too. But a lot of times I'm not saying you. I would see stuff like the proverbial you. Yeah, exactly. So I'd see stuff like honeysuckle, and I'd say, that's a nuisance. That's something we don't want there, but it's actually beneficial for the sheep.
And it's actually neat because I know that I think it was last year we did a video on you clearing out the fence row, and this year you're letting the sheep do the work, which is neat. You just put them in around that area and let them go. And I personally was like, no, get them out of there, because it was so green and lush, and it was getting overgrown. I have to be realistic. It was getting a bit much, but he put them on there and they cut it all the way back. And Paul made a good point. He's like, well, it's better for the plant itself. Like, it's better for us because it's not all over the place, and it's better for the plant, and it's good for the sheep. So that was really neat that now you don't have to spend time and go out there and whack it all. They're doing that for you.
Yeah, it's a win-win-win-win. There's a lot of wins going on there. So this one particular hedgerow that I was talking about that runs parallel with the garden, the sheep were actually on top of the hedge. So they actually were on top of it, like eating the tops of it. It was pretty interesting. They looked.
Yeah, it was.
So
it was really neat.
That hedgerow is probably like 3 feet wide. It's grown over the fence so many times it just keeps overlapping the fence, and they were actually able to stand on top of it. Yeah, that's true. We're finding that same thing, Simply Jan. So, sometimes conventional farming and agriculture will say spray poison all over that stuff and kill it, but it's actually it's what you want growing. Learning that we want stuff growing on our property that we have to try to stop it from growing. It's so vigorous, so alive that we're going to take advantage of its ability to grow where we're at. So instead of having plants that we have to baby and we have to fertilize them and we have to do all this special attention to them, we want things that we're trying to kill and over pasture, and it just keeps saying, no, I'm gonna live here and I'm gonna thrive here. So that's the kind of stuff that we're looking for. The strawberry patch that we started a patch of about 25 strawberries. You can watch that video. But that little patch started out in a 4-foot by about 8-foot area, and it doubled in size from all the runners, and then we split it out and we thinned it out and we placed strawberries in a bunch of different areas, and now we have 2 more 30-foot rows of strawberries, and then we took another section and in another area under some peach trees. We're using it as a ground cover to keep the grass back. We're kind of using it as a border, a living border. And we have another 50 linear feet by about 3 feet wide of strawberries. They've just been that resilient and that hardy that it only makes sense to encourage them. Like, if that's what wants to grow here and it's beneficial, let's let them grow. Hey, Mark, the Arkansas woodcutter. Hello, welcome to the live stream. Thanks for stopping by. Jan says, we have so many wild herbs on our land that the animals just love it. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that if you don't go out of your way to kill everything, that there's a lot of beneficial things out there. So that's what we're trying to learn as much as we can. For many of you that don't know, we actually recently moved to Kentucky from Arizona. So one of the major things that we're doing is we're learning what all these plants out here are. You know, we have goldenrod, and we don't know what goldenrod is, and all these trees. There's 30 different kinds of trees growing on our property. So a lot of what we're doing is learning. You know, we're learning as we go, and asking people, hey, what is that? What's this tree? What's going on over here?
You know, when Allison comes and visits us, we're like, hey, do you know what this is?
Yeah, so Allison's lived in the South for a while, and she's familiar with a lot of the plants around here. She
lived in the South, and then she came up to Kentucky.
And then, yeah, she currently lives in Louisville, Kentucky. So somebody made a comment back up here. Micro Farmer got some chocolate mint. Make sure you keep the borders on that stuff, Micro Farmer, or it'll take over. I try not to put mint in the ground anymore. I try and keep it in a pot. If I do put it in the ground, I put it in a pot in the ground, because mint will go everywhere, and you'll never get it out of there. It'll take over. But we love mint. There was a comment. All right, well, Simply Jen said they'll graze on grass and hay most of the time. We feed them twice a day, but they can still be fed once. I don't really know the percentage. I would guess close to 50-50. So she's talking about those Idaho grass pigs. So thank you, Jan, for that information. Pigs would be another layer that we're interested in using. So that is that's helpful. Thanks for that, Jan. One thing that we do, and I'll just kind of mention this. You may have seen it in some of our videos, but when we go into town, the closest town to us is about 10 miles away. And when we go into town, we try and make a point to see if there's any food scraps that we can pick up. We're trying to make a connection with some of the restaurants there, so that we have a free food connection, so that we could raise pigs on food scraps. We only generate a very small amount of food scraps, leftovers type stuff that we don't end up eating. We usually do pretty good and are efficient at eating it up, but you know, sometimes just make a little more than you need. Like this morning, we had probably an extra half a cup of oatmeal left over from when we made oatmeal this morning. That went out to the chickens. But you know, if you guys don't do it, there may be somewhere around you. You guys can pick up some food scraps and feed a pig. Allison, get you a pig, put it out there in the middle of your
So Allison mentions that the English put their mint and oregano in the chimney, and that is
buried in the ground. Yeah, so it's a border and it contains it. It's kind of like a ceramic tube. Around here they call them tiles. I'm not sure why. chimney tiles, but it's basically a section of ceramic tube, almost like red pottery. A lot of times they are. Those work real good. Keep that mint contained. Arkansas Woodcutter says you guys will pick up scraps from a restaurant. Yes, that is correct. Seems hard to raise pigs without a dairy animal. Yeah, I'm not sure why a dairy animal would be necessary. Maybe you can expound on that.
The microfiber, oh my goodness, Michael Farmer, I'm sorry, mentioned school lunch. That actually might be something to kind of look into.
Yeah, actually, we had a little school in the town that we were in, but they kind of condensed and downsized and centralized the school about 20 miles from us. So that particular town is our county's capital, or the county seat for our county. But the only problem with that is we don't really have, there's no major like supermarkets or grocery stores or anything there that we regularly frequent. So the public school that's in our area, we don't really go there. That is a good idea, Micro Farmer.
Thank you. Homestead with Jess came in. So hello, welcome.
Hello, Keto Homestead with Jess. Thanks for stopping by. I'm assuming this is Jess. Let me mention before I forget, I mentioned Greg Judy quite a bit, but I want to throw up on here a link for Edible Acres. If none of you have ever checked out Edible Acres, I would strongly encourage you to do that. Edible Acres is one of the few channels that you'll see that practices what they preach. They're doing, like a lot of YouTube channels, the bigger YouTube channels, like, you know, Justin Rhodes and guys like that. They're what they're doing on their farm is just kind of the base for their enterprise. A lot of their income is coming off of you know, YouTube, and it's coming off of books and different memberships that they sell. But one thing that I really like about Edible Acres is they have a nursery where they sell on the they sell online, and Edible Acres does a lot of permaculture stuff. They're really into low cost project builds. One thing that I'm going to be building here in about a week or two is what's known as a cattle panel greenhouse. So if you're not familiar with a cattle panel, it's basically a 16-foot long panel that's about it's about 4 feet wide or 4 feet tall if you stand it on its long side. So it's 16 by 4. If you can imagine a panel with grids, depending on how you put it, if you put it flip upside down or right side, usually there's smaller grids at the bottom, and then the grids get bigger as they go up. But they're made of a pretty thick gauge wire. If you're talking gauge, it would probably be what they call probably like an 8 gauge wire. So it's a very thick wire. It's pretty neat because not only is it like a fencing, but it can also be used structurally. So for that cattle panel greenhouse, we take 3 of those, and we basically make a dome out of them. If you look in our video, we have a video where we talk about moving the sheep, and we actually made a very similar structure for the sheep shed, we call it. And it's basically a little shade structure so the sheep can be out of the rain. And we took 8 foot wide, so 8 foot 2x4s, and then 12 foot 2x4s going this way, and basically just made a box frame for the bottom. And then we took 3 cattle panels and put those in a hoop over them, and We put 2 uprights on the end to stabilize the top a little bit. And then that was the entirety of the structure. And then for the sheep shade, we put a tarp over it. The tarp dimension was 12 by 16. No, it was 12 by 12. So it goes the entire length, but then it's 4 feet shorter as it goes around. So there's actually 2 feet for airflow at the bottom. But in the winter, what we do is we put panels at the bottom so that the cold wind can't blow in there. And then in the summer, we take those off.
And it's been a pretty sturdy structure too, because we've had some serious wind, like knocking stuff over. Actually, Allison gave me some really pretty pots. Thank you. And we had them decorative, and it was so windy and knocked him over, and they're full of dirt. No, I wouldn't think that would happen. But anyways, we had some serious wind. But the sheep shade, it's a sturdy little structure, and it didn't move. It didn't. I was afraid it would get blown away. And they did it, and the tarp is still on there. That hasn't been blown away, so it's pretty sturdy. It doesn't look like it would be. You look at it, and you're like, it's just these panels with the tarp, but it works, and they use it a lot.
Yeah, so it's sturdy, and it's heavy duty enough, but it's still lightweight. So we're gonna take that same design, and we're gonna build a greenhouse out of that. And the person that I got that from was Edible Acres. So I learned a lot of little tricks and tips from Edible Acres like that. Edible Acres does a lot of propagating. If you go down to like Lowe's or Home Depot, whatever it may be, you can buy an apple tree for $30 or $40, but Edible Acres will actually show you how to graft those, and you can start reproducing trees. If you find the rootstock, you can probably find rootstock for a couple dollars a piece, and you could actually make a bunch of your own trees, which is what we plan on doing this year. And you could probably do that for under $5 pretty easily. I'd probably say you're probably closer to $3 a tree. But you just have to know those techniques. So they share a lot of information that a lot of people don't. So I really like that channel. So I would say one of the kind of goals, or I don't know how you'd call it, but our channel is kind of a blend between Greg, Judy, and Edible Acres. So if you look at those 2 channels, that's where we get a lot of our influence from. It's kind of what we use to reference a lot.
Jules Small Gardening. Hello.
Hey, Jules.
I don't know if she just popped in.
That's a guy.
Oh,
Jules.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jules is. I believe Jules is in Georgia. He's from the South. I like watching Jules. He talks neat. He's a real cool guy. Jules is part of the Shed Wars community.
And actually, talking about communities, I know the other day you were watching a live stream, and they were talking about how the homesteading community is literally a community, like a network. And so I know that Paul was, talking about what he might be talking about today. And he was like, I get a lot of help and influence from other channels. Like, it's definitely not, a one-man show. Like, it's network, and you learn from each other, and you share ideas, kind of like this. And this is one of the reasons why he wanted to do it. And so he wanted to give in some plugins for those channels, because I know that they've helped him out a lot. I know you mentioned a couple of times Greg, and he's like, I'm struggling with these sheep. I don't know about this. And he'll watch a video. And so it's definitely a community, and it's something that really neat to see and be a part of. And so I know that was one of the reasons why he wanted to share. And Jules, I completely apologize. You know what happens is that I noticed that I can read, but I get so nervous, and I'm all, what does that say? I don't know how to read right now. so I apologize.
Yeah, it is pretty neat because a lot of these, and this is something that we're trying to do, a lot of these homestead channels are creating like a reference library for those people who could use those materials in the future. So it's pretty neat that they're kind of there on the YouTube shelf for whenever somebody could need that.
Yeah, and sorry we haven't been very faithful on videos. I'm not going to mention any names as the baton right now on the videos. And we actually have a log of videos to do, like I was mentioning to him, and I was like, should we be recording? He's like, actually, I have this video and this video and this video. So I apologize, especially with the holidays and just different events. It's been hard. And it's been hard too because of the weather. It just gets so dark early here that it's almost like your brain shuts off. And it's like, it's bedtime, but it's only 6 o'clock. And I'm like, Paul, go work on the video. And he's just like, no. So we apologize that we have not been putting out any videos, but we still wanted to stay connected. And that was one of the things that Paul's like, I really want to start, doing the live streams. So if you guys had any questions or anything about the channel, just having that one-on-one. I know Pete mentioned earlier that it's nice, the smaller channels that you can have interactions with. So that I think that we've really enjoyed is that interaction with other communities.
Welcome back, Jen.
Yeah, welcome back. And Boone made me hungry. She talked about barbecue and a little fryer. The air fryer, I'm still like, I want to do an air fryer so much, but like the other part of me does it like, no, you have a big family. You can't do that. But I would be interested in that. My pressure cooker actually just died. It's been giving me some hassle, and we had company come over, and I needed to set the pressure cooker for the last 30 minutes, and it decided, no, it's not going to do that. It wasn't going to come up to pressure. So I was in a last minute scramble, and I was like, oh God, I need your help. Like, tell me what to do, because I'm so scatterbrained. And it was just like, boil it. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So I took the liner out of the pressure cooker and put it on the stove, and it worked out. I think it didn't taste the same as the pressure cooker, but it could have just been me and my prejudice on my beautiful pressure cooker. So we have to get another pressure cooker. Yeah, I think.
Well, we'll have to give it a look over, because I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, the pressure cooker acted like it was going to. It acted like it was going to die. It was threatening. It was playing dead.
Yeah.
And then she went and messed with it and did something to it, and then it ran good for another 3 months, and now it's playing possum again. So
I'm hoping that's really the case. And yes, I was upset. I'm like, my pressure cooker. I don't know about you guys, but that's one thing. That and the rice cooker, I think, are like staples for a homestead. Like, I think every homestead needs them. We use them on a daily basis. Allison said, time to learn how to. It's true. I get kind of nervous with those old pressure cookers. But maybe I should. I actually have one, and it's so convenient. Just like boop, boop, 30 minutes, and then it starts going by itself. But yeah, it was sad. So hopefully it is playing possum and it's not really headed out the door.
I'll have to look at it with my hammer.
No, not with your
figure
hammer.
it out. Yeah, so if there's anything that you guys are interested in seeing on our homestead, it is kind of a dormant period right now. There's not much growing. I did do this cool little trick that I've been meaning to put a video out about. I took the inside of an IBC tote. I'm not going to explain what an IBC tote is, so you kind of have to know what it is. But basically the plastic part, or the liner, I took that and I cut it in half. And I've been using that as a little miniature greenhouse. And that's been working out pretty neat. I have some beets and some mustard greens, some, I always forget the name of that. It's another type of green, but I have some greens growing in the, in these little miniature greenhouses, and I'm going to do a video on that pretty soon, I think. It's pretty neat because there's no structure. It's very portable. It's kind of a secondary, third purpose because we originally got the IBC totes for rainwater and just kind of had some extras, and then we cut them in half, and that's what we used as chick brooders in the spring when we got all the chicks from the mail order. So that's what we were using for that. But now the chicks are all out of them. They're all grown out, and they're in the barn and in the little yard around the barn. So now we had those sitting around. So now we're using them as little miniature greenhouses. So
and I know we were over there the other day, and he was showing them to some friends we had over, and he's like, "Yeah, look at the beets." And I personally am thinking like those things look ugly. And then he pulled it out and it was like, like this giant beet. I'm like, wow, talk about not judging it by its appearance. It was a nice beet. So they are growing really good.
Yeah, so that little greenhouse is allowing us to overwinter some stuff. I'd really like to get some seeds off of those beets. We harvested a lot of them, but I left probably about 6 or 8 of them in there to see. I read the description on them, and it said they usually go to seed in their second year. They don't seed out in the first year. So we're trying to just keep them going through the winter. A lot of times they'll go dormant, kind of like a potato will. As long as it hasn't completely frozen and it's mainly in the ground, they'll come back in the spring. A lot of people think a lot of these things, especially root crops, are primarily and only annuals, but a lot of them will come back. You know, like a carrot, if you don't pull it up out of the ground, it'll go to seed usually after 6 months to 2 years. And then you can collect your own seeds if you just leave a couple of them in. And that's what we've done in the past. We just leave a couple of the plants in, and then we collect the seeds and start the cycle all over again. So we've been doing that. It's about time, but if you guys want to stay around on here, we'll probably be here for a couple more minutes. We're just kind of closing out. I do appreciate you all for stopping by. We really do appreciate your support of our channel. We're trying to bring, encouragement to those of you that want to homestead or are homesteading. You can do it. If you're looking for a little bit of information, you may be able to find some here. We like sharing information as well as, receiving information. So we try and keep that cycle going, recycling information that we learn and passing it along.
Yeah, let us know if there's something that you guys are interested in. Today. Thank you, Simply Jan. You said you had some fantastic topics today. So thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, let us know if there's anything that you guys are interested in. I know sometimes we're like, okay, then we should go this direction. And then we're like, well, I'm not sure. So if you guys are interested in anything, please let us know. We can either do it on the live stream or do a video on it. So like Paul says, the farm in itself is kind of in a dormant state, but we still have a lot going on. We still have, our chickens and our daily routines and whatnot. And for me, I'm still homeschooling. And so that takes up a lot of my time is the homeschooling and just keeping house, being a homemaker. So, yeah.
So that's going to conclude this production. Lala Farm snuck in at the very end. I think Lala Farm's got a live stream in about an hour.
Lala Farm.
We usually watch that.
Yeah.
Hello, Rick. We'll be watching you in a little bit.
Yeah, and I know we've mentioned too, let us know if this is a good time for you guys. I know that Paul watches a lot of live streams, so we don't want to compete on times, but still want to make it convenient. So let us know if this time works for you guys or not.
They've been listening for a while. They were just sitting in the background. Lurking. That's what they call it. I was looking for the word lurkers. Well, thanks for stopping by Lala Farm. We're going to go ahead and close it out. Appreciate you stopping by. We'll see you next Sunday. And we'll be in the chat. We like to watch all of you guys' stuff and support you guys. So
Yeah, we appreciate you guys supporting us.
We'll see you when we see you.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Have a good night.